Hello and welcome to today's program. I'm Fanchen Stinger. I'll be your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to officially welcome you to this month's Farmington Hills Citizens Core Council for Emergency Preparedness cable show. The Foundation for Preparedness, our topic today, emergency supply kits for home and car. Very important topic. The mission, of course, of the Citizen Core Council is to support and enhance the efforts of local public safety organizations in helping ensure that all of the residents here in our area and business owners have the information, the education, and skills necessary to protect themselves, your families, your homes, and your businesses in the event of a local emergency. With me today, we are proud to have our Mayor of Farmington Hills, Vicki Barnett. Vicki, thank you.
Thank you, Fanchen, very much.
We also have with us today Don Millington. Don is a member of the Farmington Hills Citizen Core Council for Emergency Preparedness. Don, thank you as well for being here.
Thank you.
Well, I want to start out with the topic, of course, of emergency preparedness and why this is so important. Mayor Barnett, I know you are very interested and you have a continuing commitment in teaching Farmington Hills residents how to be prepared for emergencies. I am confident when I pick up the phone and I call 911 that almost immediately I will get a response from our police department. Why is it so important to you that we here in Farmington Hills know that that system is so effective?
Well, first of all, it's a great question, and I also want to thank you very much for not just hosting this show today, but for your continuing support of the program that we feel is so vital for our citizens. So thank you very, very much.
It's a pleasure.
But when you talk about 911 and calling and getting emergency response right away, that's very important. And on a daily basis, our police and fire departments respond to hundreds of calls. In case of a widespread emergency, we may have to get to more than 4 or 5 places at once, and that gets to be a little more difficult. And when there's a major emergency, we need to make sure that citizens are prepared for taking care of themselves first, waiting for the services that they need for extra paramedic support or other support arrives.
And that's critical.
It's very critical.
Few minutes or seconds or however long it is can mean the difference
between life and death. And if you're talking about a heart attack, I mean, just real basic heart attacks that occur all the time in our community and elsewhere. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in our country. When you talk about a heart attack, every minute that you delay respiratory or other care to a heart attack victim is another 10% decrease in their survival rate. So rapid response is important, and we want to be not just the safest city because of our police response and low crime, but we want to be the safest city for people to live in and know that there is care around them because our citizens are trained in basic first aid.
All right, that's very important. Don, I want to direct this next question to you. You've been with the Citizen Core Council for Emergency Preparedness since it was started,
Yes.
right after 9/11 in 2001.
Right.
What are the goals of this group? Because I know you've taken on quite a vast responsibility and a critical responsibility.
Well, the Citizens Core Council got together and decided that we wanted to make the citizens safe. How do you do that? First off, you have to have the mission statement, which we put together and you read. Then we decided we needed goals to be able to go ahead and work with the public. And these goals were to educate the public on safety. Educating them on safety meant not only the traffic stops and things of that nature, but what do you need to do around the home to be safe? Do you know how to turn off the gas? Do you know how to turn off, the water in case of an emergency at your house? The other was to help citizens take an active role in protecting themselves. Protecting themselves being, have you made your home safe? Have you looked at things on the stairways to make sure they're not there? Do you have safe ways to get out of your house in case of an emergency? So those are the types of things that we needed to get out to the public.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of the topics that you focus on and a lot of things that you're talking about that you do, these are things that we probably kind of know in the back of our minds, but in the event of an emergency, we always need to be reminded, because you can easily forget.
That's
you know,
right.
and some of the things we may not know. And it's great that you're here to educate us about
Okay,
that.
the other things that and along that way is we teach citizens what to do in the event of a crisis.
Okay.
So we just talked about the fact that the police and the fire department can't always get there immediately for us. They have a large number of people to get to, and so you have to start taking care of yourself. You do that by being trained in what to do, being trained in first aid, trained in your exiting the house, how to get out, teaching your own family what it takes to get out of the house and be safe and meet outside in a particular area. So we look at it and we need to provide the skills and the ability to make the families, the homes, and the community safer from the threats of terrorism or from crime or from a natural disaster. And that's basically what we look at, is being prepared for the natural disaster. More or less, that is the most important subject, other than the fact of crime, which we always want to look out for and be safe from. And the terrorism, should it ever occur, at least we would be aware of how to take care of ourselves. So those are the goals that the Citizens Corps Councils came up with, and basically the teaching and the making the community understand what it means to be able to take care of yourself.
And since your inception, you've been so successful and you've had such a great impact. Tell us a little bit more about some of the things you've actually done since the organization was started.
Well, we did come across a number of accomplishments that we realized after a period of time. You don't always think that, well, have I done a good job or not, until you start making a list.
Right.
And we make the list, and what we found is we held public forums. And those public forums, in conjunction with the police and the fire open house, where we were able to display a 72-hour kit that you would put together in order to go ahead and take care of yourself for about 3 days, should help not be there right away. And those informational forums told the public what they needed to do. We explained, handed out booklets to them, and so forth. Educational TV films, such as the one we're making now that you're so graciously hosting, with a number of those films being made and projected to the public on our home TV station. We made presentations to neighborhood associations and various groups, whether they be religious or neighborhood groups that are non-affiliated with associations, and other groups that of seniors that wanted information. How do you take care of yourself? So we made those presentations explaining to them what they could do. We've written a monthly newspaper article and on preparedness. Every month there was a new article that went in the local papers. And then we held basic first aid training sessions. And those training sessions were basic first aid, so that you would be able to come free to the public. You'd come in, learn what it takes to perform basic CPR, what you do for a burn, how do you take care of a cut, things of that nature. And then lastly, one of the big things that we think we've done and accomplished and been able to distribute to the public, and that's the Community of Preparedness handbook that we have. And we wrote the book in a monthly format. And that monthly format goes through, as the month of January is, which we're going to talk about now, is emergency supplies for the home and the car. Another month will be on tornadoes and how you prepare yourself to take care of yourself during tornadoes. And another one will be on hot weather or cold weather, and some of it on the business community and so forth.
That's great. You know, a lot of the things that you mentioned are interactive things that people in the community, families can take part in. And whenever families can learn together, it's just that much better.
That's right.
Now, Don mentioned the 72-hour kit, supply kit. We're going to show you that kit in just a few minutes, and we're going to go through what's in it and how it works. But he also mentioned the Farmington Hills, a Community of Prepared Citizens booklet. As he said, this booklet is broken up into each month focusing on a different topic, like Don just said. Mayor, tell me a little bit about why you support this so wholeheartedly. I know it's very significant. Why is it? And if people at home don't have this, how can they get it?
They get a variety of ways. Number one, it's on our website. So if you want to download your own copy of it, you can go to the city website and do so. Being prepared is something that I've been really concerned about for a long time. When I was first elected to City Council in 1995, being prepared was one of the keynote things that I thought all elected officials would help us with. And I was kind of surprised that when I approached the then city manager and I said, in case of an emergency, where do I go?
Exactly.
I was greeted with a blank stare. And part of that is just the way that we rely on 911 to come and save us, and we have city administrators that work very hard for us. But I remember growing up, and not too far from here, and Don, you probably remember, back in the early 70s or mid 70s, there was a tornado that went through Orchard Lake and 15 Mile Road. And we had 2 deaths at that intersection. So we have lived through a major outage caused by a weather event. And then we've had sporadic outbreaks of either hepatitis C or some other disease. And I want to remind people that a major health emergency is just simply a plane ride away. And it can come from anywhere. And we heard about the SARS outbreak in the Orient, and then the SARS outbreak in Toronto, and how it spread. And so people need to understand that we in government can only do so much to protect our citizens and to respond quickly to our citizens. But we also need to have citizens prepared to recognize those things that occur on a routine basis that they need to watch out for. For example, carbon monoxide poisoning during the winter.
Everyone needs a detector.
Make sure you have a detector, and put the detector in the bedroom areas. It's very important that you know where to put those carbon monoxide detectors as well. Check the plumbing in your basement to make sure that the hot water tank vent is whole and not corroded, because that can be a major leak of carbon monoxide poisoning.
And that's something that people may not think about once again.
Right.
So that's why this is so critical, especially what we're doing today.
So as an elected official, we in Farmington Hills believe we have the responsibility to make sure that we respond quickly to an emergency, but that our citizens also are prepared to take on some of that role for us, because we can't be everywhere all at once.
Okay.
So this book was put together by the Citizens Core Council for Emergency Preparedness, which is a really long, unwieldy name, but it's there for a reason, because there's money attached to that kind of committee. And we originally formed an Emergency Preparedness Committee that didn't have any federal funding attached. And once we changed our name, we realized there were all kinds of things that we could do and get done simply by changing our name to this horrible name that we now have to live with. So,
but it works.
But it works.
And it's effective.
And
right.
so we put together a calendar that really highlights how people can break down this huge topic of emergency preparedness, one task at a time, and tried to fit it where it fits best on a monthly basis. So we call it our emergency preparedness calendar, but it's not a traditional calendar.
No, it's not.
Right.
So let's start with January. January's topic, emergency supply kits for home and car. And Don just mentioned the 72-hour kit. Don, I understand you have a kit with you. We want to take a look at the kit. And Mayor, can you kind of tell us a little bit about why this kit is important, and why you think everyone needs to have this?
You need to have a 24-hour kit, or a 72-hour kit actually, to make sure that for 3 days you can take care of your family and yourselves, either in your house or outside of your house. And the kit is designed also to be mobile. So in case there's a fire, you can get out with your 72-hour kit. You know that you will have supplies to take care of yourselves in that emergency while you're making sure that you settle insurance claims and other things. So the 72-hour kit provides for water for everybody for up to 3 days. It provides food. Make sure that you have canned goods or protein bars, things like that, flashlights, and batteries, and a portable radio. How often were we reminded of this when we had that power outage a year and a half ago, and we had no power, no electricity, and no water?
Let's take a look at the kit right now. Don, you have your kit with you. Why don't you bring it out here and show us exactly what's in there. There's the water. You've got to stay hydrated.
That's
Absolutely.
Very important.
We need 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days.
Okay.
Now that may seem like a lot of water, but when you stop to think about it, you're going to drink the water, you're going to cook with the water if you're going to set up a small fire someplace to prepare some food, and you're going to cleanse yourself with it. So water is always very important. You want to have that. The other is a first aid kit. We can move this aside. And a first aid kit is very basic in itself in how it unfolds and
Like
all
the rubber
the
gloves,
items that are in it.
Oh, very
okay?
compact.
So it's compact, they're very inexpensive, they've got the latex gloves, face mask, they have Band-Aids in it, you have all the sterilization products that you need in there.
Now,
cold
can you get
compresses.
this at like the local drugstore, or how do you
Yes,
get the?
you can get these at the local drugstore, you can get them at Meijer's, you can
Okay.
get them at Target, places like that.
Okay.
You can also put your own together,
Right.
and that's one of the things, that's a very low-cost option,
Right.
On how to put your own together. And once you see what's in it, you'll see how easily it is to assemble your own 72-hour
I guess that would allow you to customize it too if you have special needs within your family.
I am
That's
so
right.
glad you brought that up,
Right.
because there are so many people that have diabetic
Exactly,
issues
insulin,
and,
yep.
and insulin or insulin dependence or other kinds of medical needs. And we not only need to prepare for ourselves, but we need to prepare also for those people that also have other medications. So
Okay.
you might want to not wait, for example, for your prescriptions to run out before you refill them. Make sure that you have a few extra days supply of your medication, and don't wait until you're at your last pill before you call to
think
get the
about it.
refill, because you want to keep your 72-hour kit current, so you don't want the medication to expire either.
All right. Now, Don, you also had a portable radio that the mayor mentioned,
Yes.
and I have not seen one this size before.
I think this has a weather band on it.
Yeah.
This has 2 short waves on it, so you can get weather on it.
Okay.
It's AM and FM, as well as having a flashlight.
Oh my goodness.
You can put batteries in the back of it.
Okay.
It has a battery that's already in there that is a rechargeable battery, and it works off a crank. So you have a power generator that's inside the radio that will charge that battery that's already in there.
And it's important to have all those things, because if you're in a weather emergency, you want to be able to hear the weather service if you don't
That's
have
correct.
electricity, of course, or energy. And then you're able to get the AM and FM, the news radio stations. So that works out very, very nicely. How much
That's right.
cash? Now, a lot of people don't think, well, maybe I need to put some cash away, to have some cash on hand. How much cash would you suggest, or do you even suggest an amount?
I think it's all individual how much cash. Don's been working with this a lot longer, and he probably has an amount, but I would recommend that you have small bills, be able to purchase food items with your cash and other necessities that you may have to do. I remember during the power outage, some people had no gasoline in their cars, they had no cash. And with all of the electronic cash registers down and all of the ATM machines shut down, there was no way for a lot of people to get the cash that they needed in order to go to the store to buy water or water substitutes and other things that were so important. And there was no way for a store to deal with anything other than cash. And so we recommend that you have, it depends on what you can afford, but $100, $200, or $300 in cash, in small bills, readily available. Also, your important papers. Have copies of all of your critical documents, and Don's going to go through this about what you need to have in terms of critical documents as well.
Why don't you go ahead and do that, Don?
What I've got here is an envelope, and in this envelope I've listed all the various things that should be in here. A food list. A food list being, these are the items that you have in your food pack to take care of yourself for 72 hours for the family, whether it be 2 people, 3 people, 4. That way, every 6 months, you're going to rotate the food products, put them back in the pantry, and use them, and then go to the store with that list and replenish the supply.
Okay.
It's important to do that every 6 months, to change the water, change the foods that are in there.
Okay.
The other is money, as our mayor has told us. I would think about $100 per person would very well hold you over. And again, stressing, small bills, that's what the large envelope is for. Your prescriptions. If you have a prescription, your doctor gives you one for maybe a 10-day supply. And if you can get one like that, that way, if you have some medications in your pack, but if you needed more, you have a prescription to get it.
Okay.
Then you take a look at a telephone tree. Telephone tree for our association, I'm president of our homeowners association. Should we have an emergency, a local emergency, I get on the phone and I make 2 phone calls. I call 2 of my neighbors. They go ahead and make 2 phone calls to the other neighbors. So that way, down through the phone tree, everybody gets notified. If somebody is not notified, then I can immediately, let's say one of the 2 parties that I'm supposed to call, there's no answer. When I have a moment, I can get down there, find out if they're okay, what's going on. And that way, this telephone tree is in here so that anybody could pick it up. If I'm not home, my wife can pick it up and do it. Then you go down here, personal contact list. We, in our association, have a personal contact list outside of the crisis area, so to speak.
Crucial.
Oh, that
Very
is
crucial, right.
Okay.
What I do is I call my son out in Howell, figuring he's far enough away. Back up to that is my daughter who lives outside of Dallas.
Okay.
That way, all family members or friends who are interested in finding out how we are, if we're okay, they can make that phone call to a local source who then can say, yeah, Dad called in, Mom called in, everybody's okay, so forth and so on.
Okay.
And the last is personal account numbers. Should you want a copy of your driver's license, the social security card, your bank information, so forth, you may want to keep a copy of that in here, not the original, but a copy in here. That way you have information on your personals that you need to get. God forbid something comes along and a storm comes along and your tornado takes your house away.
Right.
You have documentation in your pack that you have with you. Here's all your account numbers.
You know, speaking of the personal account numbers and personal account information, that is important information, sensitive information. Where should you store your kit and all of this information in your house, and how much should it cost on average?
I put together what I thought with the cost of it, with the radio and first aid kit and purchasing if you need to purchase containers to put the foods in and so forth, probably about $100 to $125.
Okay, that's
that would be
affordable.
the total.
Okay.
And of course the foods, you're going to go and you're going to rotate, so that's a bulk of the cost right there. As far as storage goes, we have in our household a number of different small bags. You can have an old suitcase you don't use anymore. You can have AWOL bags, as we call them. You can have sport bags, and mine happens to be Detroit Lions bag, and we put things in there.
Okay.
We spread it out so that in one of them you have things like the important paperwork and so forth, and a first aid kit. Another one would be with food in it. Another one would be for clothing, and that's the other thing we need to talk about.
Right.
Very
And
important.
this time of year, you want warm clothing in there. Every 6 months you want to rotate it. When you get into the summer, you take the winter clothes out, you put summer clothes in for backup clothing.
Always need a change of clothes.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. You need
never
to change
know
your clothes.
when that
right.
would come in handy. You know, this really is truly like a personal insurance policy
Exactly.
for your family.
Exactly.
Right.
And the other thing is it's got to be accessible. So you don't want to put your 72-hour kit where you need to get out of the house quickly and you can't get to it, or you can't remember where you put it. And all of us tuck things away.
Yep.
But some people store them right under their beds. Some people put them right in their closets. Some people have them right in the front hall closet as you go out the door or the
Okay.
back door, or in several different places. Some people make sure that if you've got small children, that their kit is lighter so that they can manage what they need to manage and make them responsible. It's very important to teach the next generation as well what we're
definitely.
doing, because we don't want to lose all of this knowledge that we're building up.
And if they learn at an early age,
It'll
this will
become
be
a
something
part
that
of their
will be
lives.
a routine for them. We have just
That's
about
right.
5 minutes left. I want to talk briefly about some of the other things that maybe we haven't covered yet that families should be thinking about or families should be doing.
I want to talk really quickly about winterizing your car.
Okay.
Making sure you're prepared in case you get stuck in a bad storm. This horrible phone call that we heard about last week where this young couple froze to death in their cars out west in a major storm.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen to any of our residents or anybody that we know and love especially, or anybody at all, even if we don't like them.
Exactly.
Right, we want them to be
We want
protected.
goodwill to all
Right,
men.
everybody.
And women.
So you need to make sure you have a blanket. Kitty litter, surprisingly, is good for both stabilizing your vehicle and for giving you
Getting
traction to get out of.
I have been amazed at how well, I haven't had to use it, but just to talk about how well kitty litter actually works.
It also
Right.
absorbs stray oil that may drip in your garage and cleans that off the floor. So
Okay.
kitty litter is even if you don't like cats, folks, get some kitty litter. It's a great thing to have. A shovel, food. Folks, keep some power bars or
Right.
protein bars in your car and some liquid refreshment.
Like
if
Dan
there's-
was saying, the water.
Absolutely.
That's
Important.
It's important, and make sure you have, I don't know if I mentioned blankets, make sure you have blankets.
Right.
And anything else that you may need. Flares to notify people where you are in case you are off the road. And if you're going to be traveling far, make sure somebody in your family knows what your itinerary is. It's very, very important to make sure that if you don't get where you're going, if there's a crisis or an accident and you are off the road and people don't know where you are, that they can go out and know what path you took in order to try to locate you. You hear about people falling asleep at the wheel all the time, horrible accidents. We want to make sure that if something horrible befalls you, we can find you and save you. So making sure that you have all of those things in your car is very important. And don't let your car get low on gas. This is an argument I have with my husband and my daughter all the time. You know, I get down to a quarter of a tank and I fill up. And I never get to where that light is flashing at me.
Don't get down to where you have 1 mile or 2 miles.
They always do. And how many people were stranded on the highway on August 14th because the electricity went out and all the gas pumps were shut down. Couldn't get anywhere. So I want to make sure that people always remember to do that as well.
Don, do you have anything to add as we're beginning to wrap up here?
The only thing that I would like to bring up is in the back of this calendar booklet that we have put together are some other references of information that can be obtained from either the Red Cross. They have these booklets that they are putting out.
And the Red Cross, I understand, also has kits that you can purchase?
That's right.
Is that correct? Okay.
That's right. The Red Cross also has kits, first aid kits that you can get. And here's a special one. It's a disaster preparedness for seniors, by seniors. This one is put out by FEMA, the federal government, and it's a free booklet. All of this information can be obtained locally or by the phone calls, making phone calls. It's referenced in the back of this calendar booklet so that you can go ahead and call up and get that information.
All right. Mayor, any final thoughts?
Yeah, right now the new buzzword in telephone service is VoIP telephones, computer-based phoning, and TDS Metrocom and a few others are rolling out that kind of service. It's great service, it's inexpensive, but I want people who sign up for it to be aware that there's no requirement that it be linked to 911. So make sure that you do have some other means of connecting to emergency services should you need to dial 911 in your house. If you only have internet-based phones, you do not have that service available to you, and it's really important for people to understand we can't respond if we don't know that you've called in for response. Cities have an obligation to protect their residents as best as possible, but in a wide-scale disaster, we may not be able to get to everybody quickly. And the way that things flow, once we send out our disaster teams, then we wait for the response from the state to come in, and then the federal government shows up as a last resort.
And with that being said, the most important thing we want to get across to everyone today is we all need to work together. Talk with your friends, talk with your family members. Most importantly, for the little ones in your household, rehearse a lot of various scenarios so that your little ones know what to expect. If something happens in the situation of a fire, they know what to do. And do that often.
Right, and make sure you have an inventory of who's in your neighborhood. Make sure that if you know that you have disabled residents on your street or elderly citizens that can't get out of their houses or take care of themselves, that you become responsible for them. Make sure that you have everybody that you need to have accounted for and helped, including your pets.
Right. That's very true as well. Bring the pets inside when it gets very cold out.
Absolutely.
And speaking of telephones, I find that I think every household should have a landline hooked up rather than just use a cell phone. Because when the power goes down, cell phones don't work necessarily, or the walk-around phones don't work. You really need to have one connected.
All right, keeping us safe takes us all working together. Mayor Barnett, Don, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Hopefully you've learned a lot of information. I know I have, and on behalf of the Farmington Hills Citizens Core Council for Emergency Preparedness, I urge all of you to make preparedness a vital part of your everyday lives. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.